very good morning to you. It is the 1st of April. It is 7:30 a.m. and on the 1st of April, those of us who have worked in the media for a little while have a kind of little side eye going on about the main stories that we see around the world. Like, for example, Ultimate Rugby this morning are reporting that there's going to be a statue of Cheslin Kobe outside the main stadium in South Africa to celebrate his try in the Rugby World Cup. It's just about believable that they would, celebrate winning a World Cup and that they'd put a statue up. But, it's also kind of one of those stories that, like, why would you put a statue up of a current player at the moment? He hasn't done enough, has he? So you get a little bit worried when you see stories like the story on the front of the Irish Independent this morning. Do you have the Irish Independent there?
No, I've got the Herald.
Oh, give us the Herald.
The Dublin Herald, the paper that Dublin people read. The headline, Dub's secret lockdown session. 6 in a row. Stars break rules to train hours after GAA warning. Thursday, 1st of April, 2021.
Dublin GAA stars hold secret training despite COVID rules. It doesn't look like an April Fool because they've got some pretty good pictures there of what look like actual current Dublin footballers. They've named Johnny Cooper and Brian Fenton. I think there's a few others that are recognisable there. And the training sessions alleged to have happened in the Inishfales, I always get the name wrong.
Inishfales, I think.
Inishfales, out the Malahide Road, where they would have done all those legendary hard training sessions over the years. And it doesn't look good. It's not a great look. Specifically because this week, the GAA was obviously given permission when Michael Martin got up and made his speech on Tuesday. That was Tuesday? I'm just trying to get the timeline. Or
the day before yesterday, which would have been Tuesday.
Yeah. The time is all a little bit gloopy for everybody at the moment, right? So just bear with us here. But on Tuesday, the Taoiseach stood up and said, inter-county GAA action will return in the middle of April. You'll be able to go training again, lads. And I was like, yeah, great. And then there's other stories that dates are being put forward in August for All-Ireland football finals and All-Ireland hurling finals. So, you start working back from that and you're thinking, yeah, okay, this is actually all going to happen. So a dispensation was given already to the GAA to return training. And then Croke Park obviously issued a circular saying, right, we're back, let's go. Except just make sure that before the official date, you don't go training collectively. Don't break the rules, was the... I'm paraphrasing, but their press release said, don't do it because it actually could put everything else in serious jeopardy, right? It's like, look, we've all managed this far, this long, apart from a couple of very famous instances, the Cork lads on the beach, the Down lads in Newry when the PSNI came and interrupted them. Do not do that. 12 hours later, it's dawn, and some of the Dubs are playing football together. Now, here's the thing. In the climate of outrage that we live in at the moment, there's going to be a lot of outrage because that's what happens. But is this outrageous that a group of young men decided to go and socially distance, kick a ball about? Is this a disgrace, Eoin Sheahan? I ask you.
My honest opinion on whether or not the act of young men, as you say, getting up and training is that a disgrace, my honest opinion is no, but it's not about that. It is, to distill it down to that, is to miss the point spectacularly about what this represents. About, first of all, what has been happening in this country for the last few weeks, the discussion around who's going to get to normal life first, whether it's on a vaccine level. And we can go down that wormhole of the exceptionalism that exists in the world of getting your hands on a vaccine. But then there's a whole other world of reopening the country. And the idea of GAA exceptionalism has been thrown around so many times in the aftermath of those raucous Club GAA celebrations last year. People were outraged at the existence of a GAA championship, of the leagues coming back. I remember that the first weekend the leagues came back last autumn. People who don't like the GAA were outraged by the fact that it came back, that it hadn't been more severely punished for the scenes that we had seen at the end of last summer. That's been replicated over the past couple of days, the idea that the GAA has got its clear roadmap back. Yes, it was pushed back a couple of months versus professional sports, but in terms of non-professional sports, the GAA is still ahead of many other sports, and people are questioning, rightly, why is this the case? Those questions are going to be intensified beyond all belief when those people see this story this morning. And that, for me, is why this is not a good look whatsoever. It's nothing to do with the specific act of going out and training in the morning. like it's not up for me to judge, and I'm sure everybody was being safe and all that sort of thing. But what this does for the entire image of the return of the GAA, you can't speak to what this will do to those people who already have a bone to pick with the GAA. You can talk about Cork and you can talk about Down as well. Imagine how they will feel if the book isn't thrown at Dublin as a result of this. They will have right to kick up an almighty fuss, because for me, it is the exact same thing. I don't care how many people were there training. I don't care if there was a ball involved and they were literally, I think they were doing the Mick Bowe drill, but 2 balls in hands and kicking into one another. As I say, I'm sure they were all safe and all the protocols within the confines were being followed, but the existence of that confine just shouldn't have happened in the first place. And if they get away with this more easily than Cork and Down got away with it, then there will be a massive fuss kicked up. There's also this other element here that when it came to the All-Ireland final last year, Mayo brought in a couple of extra people into Croke Park. As far as I'm aware, Mayo took the decision to suspend 3 members of their senior football backroom staff. That's what I'm reading in the Herald this morning, because to be honest with you, it feels like this pandemic's been going on for 20 years, and I can't remember last week, let alone this Mayo story. But Mayo took the decision to suspend 3 members of their senior football backroom staff. What now happens when it comes down to Dublin GAA? Are they going to be the ones that make the decision, or is it going to be the GAA as a whole who make this decision, as was the case with Cork and Down? That's an interesting wrinkle to this, because the Dublin GAA have yet to comment on this. They've ignored requests, and I think it's the chairman of Dublin GAA said he had no idea that this was happening whatsoever when he got contacted by the paper over the past couple of days. So am I outraged by the fact that young lads are kicking a ball around the park? No, absolutely not, just to make that clear. But am I concerned about what this is going to do for the image of the GAA over the next couple of months, when image is absolutely key and it's been slammed many times in the past? Yes, that is where my concern lies.
And also you're saying that they need to get treated the same as everybody else.
Yeah, now just also another thing that I should put on the record this morning, because people are going to say this and people are going to bring out the whataboutery first thing this morning, being like, well, I'm sure there's other counties doing it. I'm with you. I'm sure that there are tons of other counties doing it, but we can't go on stuff that we actually just don't know exists.
Hearsay.
But it's not hearsay. I haven't heard much. I'm sure there's people out there who have heard about other counties coming back training. Like there are certain counties, Kerry in particular, that maybe I'd hear a thing or two about. I actually haven't heard hearsay on that level. I'm not saying that this stuff isn't happening around the country. I'm sure it is. But even when it comes to hearsay, there's very little of it. Now, the thing is, I hadn't heard anything about the Dubs, and I don't think you did either until this morning. And here we go. I'm also shocked that it's the Dubs. Like, that this is the county that gets caught. I guess it makes sense that in the most built-up area in Ireland, there's probably more people twitching their curtains who actually see, is that Brian Fenton over there in that thing? Maybe that's why. But I am shocked that the Dubs are the ones who got caught here. They, like, the most slickest setup that we were supposed to have in Ireland is supposed to be the one that I would have thought would get away with something like this.
And just to specify as well, you said they were doing the Mick Bowe drill. It's his drill, obviously. We're not suggesting for a moment that he was there at all. 087 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. You can use the hashtag OTB AM to get in touch with us. You can tweet us at Off The Ball or at Off The Ball AM is the specific Twitter one for the show. Despite dawn only breaking, the Irish Independent report, they opted not to turn on the floodlights, and by 7 a.m. began their exercises in the furthest corner of the main pitch from the dressing rooms. Players began arriving at the large car park before first light and appeared ready for action, dressed in a random selection of club colours tracksuits and a UCD Sigerson Cup training top. We couldn't work out if it was like, if it was Northsiders only, if it was, you know, a specific, if it was the defensive players. Like, they definitely had midfielders, they had somebody from the half forward line, and it seems that there were some Southsiders there as well. So keep going, well done, go on, push, went the encouragement from the coach, an unnamed coach. We can't actually tell who it is. Now, who knows? It could be a physical trainer, it could be anybody. So they appear, assuming this isn't an April Fool, they appear to have been caught rapid. And it's on the front of the Herald and it's on the front of the Indo. And those pictures are going to be passed around every GAA WhatsApp group in the country. And it's difficult to see how GAA can't come out and give them the exact same suspension. And we're saying it would be Dessie Farrell who picked up the suspension, irrespective of the fact that he wasn't there. Is that how you hold us responsible, or how do you hold to account the group of players? Do you ban the players because they're identifiable?
Well, it was Tally and Ronan McCarthy who got the ban for Cork and Down. That's the precedent. Here's the thing: we have precedent for this. I would definitely have a lot more sympathy for the situation if there wasn't that.
Is the precedent? Is there? I mean, look, you can't. I suppose you can't change the parameters for the punishment when it's essentially the same crime, but the public outcry around this might be more severe given the state that we're in and how close we are to getting things back. And we all know that public outcry is one of the main reasons why punishments happen in the first place. So, big test for the GAA.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like, at the same time, I'm not sure about that. I'm sure people, when they saw the Cork footballers on a beach in the All in January, were pretty annoyed as well, because things looked just unbelievably grim in January, whereas now, like, you've got people sitting out in parks drinking pints and stuff like that, and people are like, well, what's the difference between that and people kicking a ball around the field? Like, again, I can totally understand that point of view. So it's,
I guess the Taoiseach officially said, you aren't allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. Don't do it. And then the GAA said, don't do this. Don't, whatever you do, don't do this. Breaches in this context will not only be dealt with under our own rules, but would likely put the broader plan to return to activity in serious jeopardy. If you do this, you're risking it for everybody.
well, like, what, explain, like, why would it be putting the entire thing in jeopardy beyond the point of public outrage and the government taking away their right to return to play? Like, that's it, isn't it? That is the long and short of it. Because if it goes beyond that, like, if that hurdle gets crossed, the point of public outrage gets crossed, it's a ban for the Dubs, and it's a hefty ban, sorry, for whoever the person may be. It's looking like it could be the manager. And then away you go, sort of thing. Is that all that should happen here?
Ban them and move on. 3 months.
I can see it happening, and, like, I mean, that's like, if it was anything less than that, that's where I would have a problem. But, like, that is the ban that's been dished down to Cork and to Down. Like, I think they've got to play by those same rules at this point, don't they? That it's a ban and move on. It's just a court of public opinion where this changes.
Exactly, and that's the thing, and that's clearly what the GAA were conscious of when they were saying this could put the whole thing at jeopardy. I think, like, if you get a special dispensation and you prove that you can't manage your people to stick by those rules, well, how will the government respond to this? How this morning, I mean, they'll be delighted because it takes a lot of stuff off them, a lot of heat off them. Officially, they'll be, what's the official response going to be? It's not going to be, we're delighted that you've taken the heat off us and the various snafus that we have created. That will definitely be what their spin doctors are thinking. But the official line from the government will be like, lads, I mean, could you not just wait 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, that's the conversation I'll be having. But at the next press briefing, it'll be politicians saying, I can't comment on individual cases, but it's an absolute, you know, we've made it clear to the GAA what you can and can't do. It will be a convenient opportunity for them to put the spotlight on the Dubs. But the fault of that, whose fault is that? It's Dublin's fault. Like, I mean, it's not the politicians didn't ask Dublin GAA to train to take the heat off the government. The government can take the heat off themselves because of a complete cock-up on the part of Dublin GAA. Again, I'm shocked that the most modern, most professional setup we've ever seen in Gaelic games are one of 3 counties to have got caught.